Hi, sorry about that. We can't figure out phones. I mean, it's better than last time as we'd stacked our phone on a book and a bunch of other things. And it's really weird just talking to a phone, not gonna lie. So, we'll give it a couple minutes, see if anyone else joins. I don't know who's all joining because I can't see my phone, so I have no idea who's joining. So, how are you guys all doing? Y'all enjoying quarantine? I mean, secretly as an introvert, I kind of enjoy this. What? Yeah, this is recording. So we have to set up new recorders because we have our live stream and then we have to set one up to get it differently because we couldn't figure out how to save our videos. I'm old, I'm sorry.
Same. Grace says she's bored.
She's bored?
Yeah, Grace is bored.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Grace. Well, I hope this is entertaining for you. Maybe not.
McKenna is also bored.
Understand that? My dogs are enjoying it though, because we're home all the time. They just never leave my side. It's crazy and wonderful.
Is it wonderful?
No. Alright. It's been 3 minutes. If you're not on here yet, you can catch up. And the video on our website. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen the post yet, all of the videos, if you need to go back and get like more information and didn't get the handout filled out completely, all of the information is on the same website that you get the handouts from. So the link's on our Facebook page or Instagram page. Just follow that link and it'll take you straight to the video so you can rewatch it if you need to. You don't have to. I mean, I would want to watch myself twice. But you can either do that or that's how you can get it. So now to get started, since I'm speaking on time management and work ethic, I don't want to waste your time. We're going to start out with a little activity. So this was going to be way easier to do when we had a room full of people and there's a bunch of people watching each other. But what I'm going to have you all do is I'm going to have you all sit in your seat, whatever, and shut your eyes. And then, not yet, I'll tell you when to go. You have to signal me when I have to go. You know that, right? Okay. So I want you to shut your eyes, and then I want you to open your eyes when you think a minute is up. Obviously, I can't see this happening with any of you, but then I will signal you when not necessarily a minute is up, but I will start talking because I don't want to like have you wait for that minute. So I'll go a little bit past a minute before I tell you when a minute was. So on the count of 3, you can shut your eyes and then open up when you think a minute is up. So on your 1, 2, 3, shut your eyes. I feel like I should play some music. All right, so that was actually a minute 30 because I didn't want to let you know. How many people opened your eyes like way before that? Can't see you, but that's all right. How many people you guys like didn't open your eyes until I finally talked? So the point of that little illustration, again, it'd be so much better if you could see everyone standing up. At this point in time, it's not really as impactful as it would have been. This little illustration is that we all have a different concept of time. We all think, because to me, when I'm sitting there during that minute, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so long. And I had Justin signaling me when it would pop up or when it was a minute or a minute 30. But we all have different concepts of time. We all know what 1 minute looks like when we're looking at a clock, obviously, because you watch the little hand or you stare at your watch and just watch it, or your phone and just watch it change numbers. But we don't always use those minutes in the best of our abilities. My topic today is time management or a work ethic. So there is 24 hours in a day, and that's 7 days in a week. Therefore, all that adds up to 168 hours per week. To be honest, that's a lot of hours. It doesn't seem like it. Sometimes may not seem like it's a lot of hours, but that's a lot of hours. Granted, there's sleeping time, there's eating time, there's all that time in between, but that's 168 hours is how many days you are given within a week. God gave us 24 hours in a day to accomplish what we need to get done. This includes adequate sleep, rest, play. However, it's when we sleep too much, or rest too much, or play too much, or stay in quarantine too much, no, that's good, that we all fall into trouble. Some people fall on the other side of the spectrum by spending too much time on their job, too much time on their schoolwork. Although those are not bad activities, we must remember what is most important. It's possible for someone that falls into these traps to not have proper perspective on managing their time wisely. You see, the Bible says in Colossians 3:23 through 24, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you have received an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. See, this is where I fail. I may have never missed a big deadline, which I really haven't, but I do know that I do know that I have mismanaged my time. I've missed out on serving God through my life's work. See, take a look at your life. Do you budget your time wisely? Do you work as though working for the Lord? See, often we go through life without thinking through what is really important and waste precious times on things that aren't worth it. So this is the perfect time to talk about time management. You guys, since most of you are just stuck in your houses anyways, most of you guys have nothing to do this week because you got a week off of school and an extra week off of school. How are you going to manage that time? How are you going to use the gift of time that you were basically given this week? So time is the most valuable asset in your life, even more valuable than money. If you lose money, you can always regain money working. If you lose time, it's gone forever. See, that's the perspective you must have in order to be intentional with how you spend your limited time. So, James 4:14 says, why do you not even know what will happen tomorrow? What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a while and then vanishes. It's imperative that you make the most of your time while you are here on earth, for your lifetime is but a fleeting mist in the scope of eternity. We know that time is inevitable, so how can we use it wisely? I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about our priorities. If we take a hard look at your priorities, we often know why time is being mismanaged or our work ethic is suffering. You see, every minute you spend is truly your choice. Do you have to go to class? No. You could sleep in. Yes. Should I not attend that function? I mean, granted, you guys aren't going to class now, but that's besides the point. Eventually, online classes will exist. Should I not attend that function? These are all your choices. People can't make you do something. Sure, people can guilt you into doing it, or when you say yes, that is making that person, but when you say yes, that is making that event or that person a priority in your life. When you say, I don't have time, or I'm too busy, what you're really saying is, that's not a priority. When we get our priorities straight, decisions get easier. Priorities are things that you feel are important, or even like it should be the most important things in your life. So I have on your little handout there. If you don't have the handout, you can take a piece of paper or just Think of your top 5 priorities. I'll give you a couple minutes to, well, probably not a couple minutes because as we saw, minutes are long. I'll give you a little bit to think about them and then write them down because you're going to take a look at them later. So write down your top 5 priorities.
It's fun because it's like a 9-10 second delay. So it's funny, like the whole during the minute thing.
No, that's fine. I thought I could probably said when a minute actually was.
Those are a priority, they're definitely not my top 5.
I was gonna say, if you guys want to comment any of your priorities, you guys can. Then we can all see them. I can't see them, but the staff will tell me what they are. All right, that's roughly a minute. If you're still thinking, obviously you can still write things down because I can't see what you're doing. I mean, for all I know, you could be in the bathroom. So my priorities are 1, God. 2, myself. 3, Justin. 4, the rest of my family. And 5, Chi Alpha, or work for other people. So your list can be longer. It doesn't have to be just 5. Just for the sake of time, I didn't want to have too much thought into that. All right, so the number 1 priority that I have is to focus on what God wants. So that's why God is the very top priority of my list, is I want to focus on what he wants in my life and why he wants it in my life. It says in the Bible, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. In Matthew 22:37. In Matthew 6:33, it says, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. See, make time for God, and he'll make time for everything else. Put him first in your day, make Jesus the center, and everything else lines up. I've talked to students that have done this, that have tried this, that have literally taken hours out of their day, or not hours, but at least an hour out of their day because they were freaking out and they thought they needed that hour for homework. And then they realized when they took that hour for God that they had so much more time for all the rest of the stuff, and everything just worked out and filled in. I mean, and that's crazy to think of, the fact that you gave that hour away, but you gave it over to the right thing, and that was God. If you have something else besides God as your top priority on your list, think about why that is. If we say we serve him, then maybe we aren't putting the time in to spend with him. Maybe we aren't putting the energy into our relationship with him as we should. So I'm not saying this to shame anyone, obviously, but if you aren't spending daily time with Jesus, reading his words, praying and talking with him, and listening to worship music and just spending time with him, if he is not the center of your making decisions, then he is not your top priority of your life. Think about that. The second priority, I'm not going to go through all the priorities and why they're there, but I'm going to go through the top 2 that I have. The second priority is to take care of yourself. Granted, this ties in with putting your focus on God, because taking care of yourself is also spending time with God. But it's also important to make sure you are doing well. Paul says in Philippians 4:11-13, I'm not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in every and any situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. Hebrews 4:9-11 says, there remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For anyone who enters into God's rest also rests for their works, just as God did from his. Let us therefore make every effort to enter that rest, so that no one will perish by following their example of disobedience. You can't manage your time when you're always running on empty. And you can't help anyone when you're not full yourself. So it's like this. All right, especially people introverts. So I'm obviously very into visuals, so we are going to do this visual for you. All right, we don't need this many cups. So say, this is you. No, I have 2 cups here. So say this is you right here. You're full of water. I'm not gonna fill out too much because I don't trust my pouring ability. So this is you. You're full of water. You're full to the brim. You're just full of life, full of energy. Well, say you gave a little bit of water to this person or this cup. All right, so now they have some water. They got a little bit more energy. So you give a little bit of this water to this person. I can give them a little bit more. And then you give a little bit of this person. And then you give a little bit to this person. And before long, you're empty and useless. I mean, because there's no water in there. You can't drink it. Apparently Rachel found that very amusing.
It was just like you said, you're empty and useless.
Well, you're not completely useless. You do need to fill yourself. You can fill yourself up again. So you spend time by yourself. So, and then you spend time by yourself. You spend time working on yourself. You spend time being by yourself. And there, that's good. So you can spend time by yourself and you're refilled. You took time for yourself and that's good. But there's also the fact that you can spend time on yourself, but then you can spend too much time on yourself. Before you know, you're overflowing. So, and then that's no use at all. You may be full, but then you're also making a big mess, which I prepared myself for. We can fill ourselves up too much, which is good to fill yourselves up, because if you don't, you can't give of yourself. You'll be too empty. But you can fill yourself too much, and then you'll only spend time on yourself. You'll use yourself as a consistent excuse, and it's easy to fall into that trap. Work on yourself so you can be that person that people can come to when others need help. So don't let yourself get empty, but also don't fill yourself up too much that you're useless and just making a mess of things because you're not spending any time and giving anything to anyone else. So we've looked at our list of priorities. What are some practical ways to help us? I'm very practical in that way. I like to be practical. So in order to work better and manage your priorities, you need more than just discipline. You also need wisdom. So you can say, I can just do this all on my own. I can do this. I can just organize everything and that ability. But sometimes just having that organizational ability, I know this for a fact. I'm a very organized person. But you have to manage your priorities, manage your time, manage your activities with wisdom. Some are more important than others. In Ecclesiastes 10:10, it says, if the axe is dull and its edge unsharpened, more strength is needed, but skill will bring success. You don't need to work harder, you just need to work smarter. Heard that since I was in college. Did I always understand it or always get it? Of course not. The smarter you work, the more effective you will become in managing your time and completing tasks. You need wisdom to discern what is most important to you. This is because if it is important to you, you will do it. So some ideas are, some practical tips. I'll let you write down yours, but these are some practical tips that I have. I think on your handout you just have a line, so just fill it in with some practical tips that you use to manage your time well. Create a master to-do list. Calendar your to-do list. Actually, I created a to-do list. I have it labeled goals for the quarantine. And I have a list of all the things that I want to accomplish in these next 2 weeks. Set specific times and days you will get something done. Prioritize. Should I spend time with God or should I watch another show of Netflix or Hulu or whatever you're watching? Should I partake in activities with other people? Obviously a little bit hard now, but you still can FaceTime with people. You can still message friends. You can still spend times with other people, discipling them. Sometimes you will drop the ball and good enough needs to be good enough. In order to accomplish what we need to think in quadrants. If you're at our Light Minute thing last year, I talked about this, but that's because I think it's a really good idea on how to do it. Joshua said it was absolutely amazing, so kudos to him. So there's two variables when thinking about our time: important versus not important, and urgent versus not urgent. Some of that may have changed during these next 2 weeks because, well, it's a weird circumstance. This may not seem like a revolutionary insight, but it is unfortunate how much of our time we unknowingly, or sometimes knowingly, spend on things that are not important. I know I do. Urgency is always the trump card in how we spend our time. We can't get to things that are important and not urgent if we're constantly living in the urgent. Constantly like, oh my gosh, I need to get the assignment done. It's due tomorrow. Well, why are you doing it the last minute? Sometimes things are out of our control, but sometimes we may have known about that assignment weeks ahead. So in quadrant 1, so that'd be the little square thing, it's the top, I'm backwards on my thing, so that would be the side on it. This quadrant is important and urgent. This quadrant is sometimes unavoidable, as life sometimes throws a lemon or a curveball, like being quarantined. However, many important activities become urgent because of our procrastination, or because we do not have adequate planning or prevention. This quadrant zaps your energy, creates tons of stress, and we can have a huge snowball effect for all of your time. So say you have assignments that you were supposed to have done for this thing. Things may have changed, but if you have readings, do them during this time off. Get ahead in your classes. It'll be very beneficial for you later on. So example are crises, obviously this is a little bit of crisis, but pressing problems, deadline-driven projects, or health issues. AKA, if you feel sick, go to the doctor. Quadrant number 2 is important, so this side, is important but not urgent. This is where we do our long-term planning, anticipate problems and prevent them, study ahead and broaden our minds, increase our ability to adapt through self-development. This quadrant can increase your productivity in the long run, minimize stress, and improve your immediate performance. This quadrant is perhaps the most essential in time management, but it's often the most neglected. These activities are easily surrendered to those that are more urgent. So some examples of what you should be doing in this quadrant are preparation, advanced studies, read a good book over these next couple weeks, listen to a good book, spend time with Jesus, exercise, planning, clarification of values that we just went through, our priorities. If you can list your priorities, that would be in this quadrant, because then if you know what your values are, your priorities are, it's easier to figure out how you should plan your life. Relationship building, true recreation, and rest. So those are all in quadrant 2. Quadrant 3 is not important, so down here, and urgent. Also, if I'm getting these wrong, I'm pretty sure I have a perfect example at the very end of your handout. These are time wasters. They're all we all need times to refresh and relax, but those activities are important and do not belong in quadrant 4. These hamper productivity and development. Oftentimes we spend time in, I didn't read quadrant 3, guys. Thanks. All right, so quadrant 3, never mind. Quadrant 3 are those activities that are not important and urgent. These are activities that can seem important because of their urgency, but they're really not. We have learned to minimize these distractions and say no to them. So these are like interruptions, phone calls, just drop-in visits. They do happen. Obviously, drop-in visits aren't happening currently. Back to quadrant 4. These are the times we often spend most of our time in. Quadrant 4 is if we spend too much time in the urgent. We escape from the urgent by going to this quadrant instead of allowing quadrant 2 to help us prepare us and refresh us. This can be a dangerous cycle of living in the urgent and escaping to quadrant 4. See an example. Excessive time online. I'm sure many of you have browsed social media a ton. I've actually given up social media for as much as I possibly can because I do have to do things on it for work. I've given it up because it's just a time waster for me currently with all the extra time I'm given. TV. I'm sure many of you guys have watched numerous videos. Frozen 2's on Disney Plus, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet. It's not as good as Frozen 1. But if you watch hours and hours of TV, you have so much time right now. Use it wisely. Video games, vegging out, just staring into space. I'm sure many of you are very, very bored. Find someplace productive. Do crafts. Help, remodel something. Most of you are home, so there's plenty of things to do. So now that we've looked at our quadrants and the fact that we need wisdom on how to organize our lives, number 2 is you must make goals and make plans to reach those goals. So Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." So we may plan, but God's more in control than we are. So I don't like acronyms, but I like this acronym because I think it's kind of funny. You need to make smart applications because you got to be smart. You need to be very specific in what you want to do. You need to make it measurable. Understand the fact that you can't, if you don't have a goal, if that goal's like huge, like you all of a sudden want to cure the world of the coronavirus, well, that's not really measurable because it's not really possible right now, especially if you're not in that degree. And then A is action orientated, R is realistic, that one's not realistic, and T is timely. So when you're making goals, you just need to make smart decisions. And then look at a list of what I said. All right, number 3 is grasp the gravity of our limited time. Ephesians 5:15 through 17 says, "Look carefully then how you should walk, not as unwise but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. Therefore do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is." Proverbs 39:5, "You have made my days a mere hand's breadth. The span of my years is as nothing before you. Everyone is but a breath, even those that seem secure." In some seasons of your life, you will have to work harder. In some, you won't have to work as hard as others. But if you put God first, understand what's important in life, and realize your limited time on earth, then you will have a recipe for planning your time very accordingly. And the last one that I have to talk about is number 4. Fulfill the mission God has called you to. Honoring and glorifying God must be the ultimate motive for our actions in life. We place our sights on the eternal, not the temporary. John 9:4 says, "As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent us. Night is coming when no one can work." The way you spend your time has eternal implications. Whether you are good or bad, deciding on spending your time, it will have an eternal consequence. Now, so I'm obviously not going to go through this with you because it's online, but now I want you to take a look at your quadrants. I want you to fill in what you think you can do this next week. Fill it, because next couple weeks. Obviously, it'll change within the next 3 weeks because our lives are so out of whack right now. We're all trying to find a new normal. We're all trying to figure out how can we work with what we have. So therefore, I want to challenge you to go through, to fill out the quadrants, to fill out the quadrants and to see where you're spending your time and how you can best make use of all of your time during this time. Yeah, that's it. So, do I just sign off or what do I do?
You wanna get the... Hello, this is Rachel.
Bye guys, we'll be back in an hour. It's an hour, right?
Yeah.
Did she stop it?